Right, okay. So now we've copied the lock out 4 separate times. As you can see here, there are 4 of the same thing, which is good, less work. The only thing you need to do when you do that is, you'll remember we called everything in the first set D1 dot something or other. So this time you just need to go ahead and change every tag, every message being received to D2, D3, and D4, or whatever you call it. It just needs to be different. The sum total of that being that you can toggle these things independently of one another, and they're not going to move in unison. So as you're going through, just do some testing so that you don't waste too much time. As I said before, these are just pretty little decorations right now. They're not doing anything other than the mechanics we set up. So I went ahead and put this door over here, and we're going to have this thing open it, which is pretty simple, but can be complicated depending on what you want. So this door cannot be interacted with and only opens with the solved message, you can see here. So the way that we're going to do this is actually very similar to what we just did. We just need another logic gate. This time, though, the logic gate needs to know our code. It needs to basically check and recheck that these 4 things are in the right order and the right numbers. There's a couple ways you can do this. Those familiar with that CyberDragon video that I posted, that he posted, that I linked, if you watch it, he uses this exact same concept here. Basically, we're going to have another 4 level gate, except unlike the one here, it is not going to be controlled by one message. It's going to be controlled by 4 different messages. Now, that method works all fine and good. I have found in my experience with the current version of the Game Maker that when each level is there's something going on with the door behavior, essentially, and this gravity mechanic. It works in most cases, but I have found in a rare, I would say 1% or less of the time, the gates will malfunction if you use the method he outlined there. I notice it tends to happen in really complicated experiences when you have a lot of messages flying around. I've had it happen a few times. I can't figure it out. So what I did was, and just to keep things quirky, I guess, found a different way to make a gate using the same principles that is more reliable, from what I can tell so far. So I'm going to show you a slightly different variant, but use the same concept. Either way, though, we start with the same concept. That being, we have a key that falls. So let's call this one M key. M key for master key. And go ahead, and it's going to be a very similar overall vibe. We'll call this mkey.spawn instead of just what was there before, and mkey.kill. Okay, so make sure we switch all that, so things are looking good. Next, we'll copy his spawn point out, because we are going to need the kill dynamic again. So get rid of the old message there and do mkey.spawn, so that's all good. Now we're going to have a speaker at the bottom, so let's copy him out, but it's going to be a bit different than before. It's not going to kill it when it gets to the bottom, because the bottom is actually going to be I think it's solved is what we called it. It's going to be the end goal, the message, and the 4 gates we put in between are going to be the checks needed to verify our code. So that's really good. So what we're going to do now is, let me explain what's different between this gate and that one. So this gate, these 4 are objects that have door behaviors. Door behaviors are simply just an object that can turn off and on its hitbox at will, which is very useful. I'm going to take a slightly different method here, and we are instead going to spawn and despawn a solid asset in a spawn. So here's how we're going to do that. First things first, we're going to give this thing a tag. Let's call it d1.gate. That'll come up later why we need to do that. This thing is not going to have a door behavior. It is going to be a solid static object that we get rid of or respawn in accordingly. So let's go ahead and give this thing, we're going to give this thing a lesser known behavior called plant. So plant is usually used for like a farmer dynamic in the game. It has a really useful feature though. You can kill it if you send a specific message to it. We're going to leave the message as its default, which is kill. And that's step 1. Step 2 is we're going to basically have an asset spawner. So why don't we go ahead and get a concrete tile out again. Same thing, it can be anything, but this is just a cleaner way of doing it. So we're going to put this up here, put them next there. Yep, not going to have anything to it, no tags, no nothing, but we're going to give it an asset spawner. So you'll notice asset spawner behaviors show this little blue highlighted box here. That's basically saying the thing that it's going to spawn is going to appear here. If you change these spawn offset numbers here, it will, you can spawn it basically anywhere. It doesn't have to be nearby. For our case though, we're going to hover it over top of the existing tile. We're going to get rid of its collisions because it doesn't technically need them. We're going to hide it. So the thing is, we're a little bit crippled with how we're able to use this because we don't have presets, which are a really helpful feature that got removed from the Game Maker as of the time of this video. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to spawn in, first you got to choose what you're going to spawn in, which is going to just be the tile itself, pick it from the list. The behavior it's going to have is going to be just like the one that exists, which is the plant behavior. It is going to have the same tag we just gave it, which is d1.gate. And the physics will be collisions. We don't want it to fall, we don't want it to be phasable, we just want it to be that. And finally is the message required. Now this is basically what message is it waiting for to actually, what message is it waiting for to spawn the asset? We are going to get into that in a sec, but we're going to use one called d1.wrong. I'll explain where that comes in a bit. So we're almost done. The last thing we got to do is, I got to explain a bit of a weird mechanic. So we need to kill this thing off, but the problem is it has a generic message. The generic message being kill. If we were to send the kill message out, it would kill every platform at once. Remember, there's going to be 4 of these things. We want a way to keep this generic message due to our limitations with the asset spawner. So we need to find a way to send just the word kill to a specific asset. That's why we put this tag here. We're going to spawn, we're going to put down something with the health component to help us be a middleman here, basically. So go ahead and put down a numpad or something, hide it, get rid of its collisions, you know, the typical dish. Get rid of the indicator. It is going to have a health component. Now, health components have this quirky behavior where when you kill them, they can send the message out themselves. And on top of that, they only send the message to things with a specific tag. So let's work backwards here. We know that we want to send the message kill to the D1 gate. So we, instead of, we're not going to be able to kill the platform directly out here using the method I'm about to show you. So this guy is going to be the middleman. Once again, we're going to give it the -2 delay. Its def message is going to be instead d1.write. Let's call it d1.write. Let's see here. Its light bar display is going to be hidden, etc. But just make sure that the message sent on def is just the word kill, and it only gets sent to that platform. As you can probably notice, this is a little more involved than the other method that CyberDragon showed, the one we used for the other logic gates. However, in my experience so far, it is a little more reliable. We'll see if I'm proved wrong in time. It's just a different way to do the same thing. But it will make sense in a sec here. So, now that we have that, the last thing you're going to do, actually, is instead of destroy, right now we've done, destroy basically just means it disappears, it never comes back. Respond to tag means it goes to its spawn point. We want to use a third one called reset. What that means is it will literally just, when this thing dies, it will immediately respawn in its spot and wait for another message. What that means is it's reusable. It's reusable for us, which is really good. So now that we have that, we have a looped mechanism. Anytime it gets the d1.write message, it will send out, it will get rid of the platform. In other words, once this key lands on the right platform, we can kill this thing, and once it leaves the correct platform, we can spawn one back in. So we can open and close the gate without having to rely on the door behavior. So what I'm going to do real quick is just copy this down, exactly the same mechanism. So there's going to be one of these, and one of these. Obviously adjusted for D2, D3, and D4. So I will be right back while I go ahead and set that up. Okay, so here we are. I've taken the gate that we built before and split it out 4 ways. Same mechanism, same 3-way mechanism, but now there's 4 layers, which is what we want. I'm going to add in one extra little bell and whistle here, which is basically we're going to do another sound thing. Sound design is always fun. So why don't we do the event objective complete, and this thing is going to play when we solve the puzzle. So use the solved just as a reminder, the solved tag is what opens that, and it's what gets spoken at the very bottom here. So we'll hide that thing, make sure it's not playing a 3D sound, and let's go ahead and hide it. I'll get rid of its collisions and hide it. Perfect. So now we need to tie the two mechanisms together. We need to find a way to translate this and a code of this onto the final mechanism that checks things. The way we're going to do that, step one, is we're going to pick a code. Let's go with the code 4, 2, 3, and 1. So that's what we're going to go with. 4, 2, 3, 1 in that order. You can't mix and match the numbers. It has to be specific. In an actual level, you might do something like hide this information across the map or in a secret folder somewhere or something like that. You know, it's up to you, but this is the mechanism. So in order to make that work, we need to know, we can use the fact that we know where this key is for a given level. For example, when it's showing number 2, we know it's on this level. When it's showing number 4, we know it's at the bottom. We're going to use speakers and that mechanism to tie together to the end here. So we have two tags to play with here. We have the right tag, which is you've landed on the right number, and the wrong tag, which is you've lost your way and you need to try again. That's what these three things here are. I made these off screen. These are all speakers exactly like this, but they do three different things because three different things need to happen. The reason why they're in front of each of these is that I've just gone ahead and given them the D2, D1, D3, D4, that kind of thing. Just save some time so you don't have to watch me type. But this one on the furthest left will send the right signal when it senses that key. This one in the middle will sense the wrong signal. And this one right here will kill the master key. In other words, it will take this and respawn it at the very top of the stack. That's going to happen simultaneously with this one, which shuts the door. So open this door over here, shut this door over here, and respawn the key. You'll see why that's important in a bit. So all we got to do now is just drag these things to the proper locations in the stack. So we said the first thing we wanted to do is the digit 4. That's what we want to see. So go ahead and drag the right one, whichever one is saying, okay, when I sense the key, send the right message, up to the level itself of the number. So in this case, we want the 4, so it's on the 4th level down. The wrong key and the kill key, let's call them, or the speakers rather, are going to be on the next one in the sequence. So this is a somewhat elegant way of doing it, but we only need to send the message to open the gate when we landed on the right answer, and we only need to send the message to close the gate once. And we know that the next digit, the digits always come in a set sequence. That's the way this thing is built. So we're going to take advantage of that. We know that after if they land on the right key and they don't happen to know it, say they land on digit number 4 and they click the button again, we don't want to leave this gate open because they got it wrong after all. So we want to bring the key to the top of the stack and close the gate again to make sure that they can't accidentally bumble their way through it. They have to have the right solution. That's what we're trying to do here. So the next one in the sequence is the number 1, which in this case is at the very top of the stack because it responds and gets killed at the bottom, you remember. So there you go. So we have this key now. It will give the right message on the 4th and the wrong message on the 1st. And that exact same method is what we're going to do here. So we said the second one was going to be the number 2. So we put the right message on the number 2. We put the wrong and the kill on the number 3, like so. Just like that. Let's do it again. This is digit 3 if I remember, if that's what I said. So we want the 3rd to be right. And we want the 4th to be the wrong one. 4th and onwards is what that basically means. And then last is the 1st, the very top one. So this one's interesting because it's going to, by default, be the correct one. So if we did this right, we should expect when we go into the experience for the number 1 key, or rather the first gate, or sorry, I guess the 4th one in this case because it's the last digit. We should expect this guy to be not there when we spawn, because the second we spawn, all 4 of these guys are going to clunk right on the top, and this is where he's supposed to be. Keep in mind the player isn't going to be able to see these gates, otherwise the solution would be way too freaking easy. These things will be hidden somewhere else on the map, or behind a hidden wall or something like that, or inside of the blocks themselves. So if we start now, perfect. You saw some action there. That's exactly what we expect to see. 3 of the gates are shut, and 1 of them is open, the 4th one, because the 4th one is the only of these 4 digits that's correct right now. So let's go ahead and test something. We're going to test each of these gates in turn. So if I click this button, what I want to happen is the bottom is going to reappear, and the key is going to respawn, which is exactly what happened, which is perfect. So if I click the button 2 more times, nothing's going to happen, because nothing should happen. It's not right or wrong. It's wrong, rather. It's not the right answer. You click it once, nothing happens. Perfect. Click it again, nothing happens. Now if you click it again, you'll notice it didn't respawn, but it opened the gate. That same behavior should occur for all 4 of these gates. So let's try it again with this guy. 4 is the right answer here. So as soon as we get to the bottom of the stack, boom, we should expect that to open. If we get to the top of the stack, it should go back again. Perfect. So let's set that to the correct key. Apologies for the annoying clicking. Let's see. So this is 2. So the second we click this once, it should open up. And if we move it, it should go back to the top. Now you can probably see why we put all those mechanisms in place now, and how elegantly it works together. So let's do it again. Actually, we're going to purposely do this one wrong, just to test this gate. Let's do 2. It should be a 3 if I recall. Perfect. So now that's perfect. What that means is if we click this one more time, we have the right combination, and that gate should open, and you should hear a pleasant sound. So let's see if this worked. Perfect. A little bit laggy, but not much we can do about that. So there you go. That's how you make a 4-digit combination lock. Like I said, they can't get these out of order. If you wanted for them to be generic, like if it was 2, 4, 1, 3, same 4 numbers in a different order, this gate doesn't do that. You're going to have to redesign this thing.